In ancient Canaan, where traditions and family honor dictated daily life, lived Judah, one of Jacob's 12 sons. Recognized for his elevated position and the responsibilities he carried, Judah led his family with pride and a sense of duty, establishing himself as one of the most influential clans in the region. His achievements and journeys expanded his renown, impacting not only his immediate lineage, but also shaping the destiny of future generations. During this period, Tamar, a woman notable for her resilience and grace, became part of Judah's household through her marriage to Judah's firstborn. Although the marriage followed the common practices of the time, Tamar's union with inserted her into one of Israel's most prominent tribes, linking her fate to a significant lineage. However, Tamar's marital life was abruptly interrupted when displayed detestable behaviors in God's eyes, resulting in his premature death, as narrated in Genesis 38:7. This tragedy left Tamar widowed and vulnerable, exposing her to a society that primarily protected women through their marital or familial ties. According to the customs of the ancient Near East, it was expected that brother, Onan, would take on the role of Tamar's husband to perpetuate the family lineage, a practice known as levirate marriage. However, Onan refused to fulfill his duty, deliberately sabotaging the conception of children who would inherit his brother's name and legacy. His resistance not only offended cultural precepts, but also challenged divine will, leading to his own death, as described in Genesis 38:9. Onan's refusal created a crisis for Tamar, who, without children or protection, found herself once again unprotected within the rigid social structure of her time. After Onan's death, Tamar once again faced the condition of a widow, without any protector available. The prospect of ensuring a secure future waned as Judah, already marked by the loss of his first two sons, hesitated to offer his youngest son, Shelah, to fulfill the levirate marriage obligation. Although he promised that Tamar would marry Shelah when he matured, Judah expressed genuine doubts about the feasibility of this promise, fearing for his son's safety, and suspecting that Tamar might be involved in his brother's deaths. Thus, he instructed Tamar to return to her father's house, declaring that she would remain a widow until Shelah reached adulthood, as recorded in Genesis 38:11. This decision relegated Tamar to a vulnerable situation, forcing her to depend once again on her father in a society that severely limited widows' options. As years passed without any concrete action from Judah to fulfill his promise, Tamar realized that passively waiting would not ensure her safety or the continuation of the family lineage. Determined to secure her future and protect her rights within Judah's family, she devised a bold plan. She knew that Judah would participate in the shearing of his sheep in Timnah, a socially significant and public event. Preparing for this opportunity, Tamar removed her widow's garments, a symbol of her current condition, and adopted a disguise using a veil to conceal her identity. She strategically positioned herself at the entrance of Enaim, a passageway to Timnah, where she knew Judah would pass by. When Judah arrived at the location, he did not recognize Tamar due to her disguise and the confusion about her true identity. Accustomed to solitude and desiring companionship, Judah approached her without suspecting her true self. During the encounter, Tamar initiated a subtle negotiation, demanding tangible guarantees for Judah's promise to send a young goat from his flock as payment for her company. She requested his seal, cord, and staff, items that symbolized his authority and lineage. Ignoring Tamar's true identity, Judah agreed and handed over the symbols, after which Tamar became pregnant by him. This encounter, marked by secrecy and manipulation, became the turning point that would redefine the destiny of both Tamar and Judah. setting the stage for future events that would deeply impact Israel's genealogy. After executing her plan, Tamar returned to her father's residence once again, wearing widow's clothes, but this time carrying renewed hope. She was pregnant by Judah, her father-in-law, although he still did not recognize the true identity of the woman he had engaged with. When Judah sent the young goat with a friend to honor his promise, the mysterious figure of Tamar was not present. The friend returned without news, leaving Judah frustrated and embarrassed before his family, choosing to ignore the situation. 3 months later, news arrived that Tamar was expecting. Taking this as an affront to family honor and interpreting the pregnancy as the result of an improper act, Judah ordered that Tamar be brought and condemned to death. However, Tamar, prepared for this moment, presented irrefutable evidence of her innocence. She revealed the symbols Judah had given her, the seal, the cord, and the staff, demonstrating that he was indeed the father of her child. Confronted with the truth, Judah publicly acknowledged his failure to fulfill the promise made to Tamar, admitting, "She is more righteous than I, for I did not give her to my son Shelah." The narrative culminates with the birth of the twins, Perez and Zerah. Perez, in particular, gains prominence in Israelite genealogy, becoming a direct ancestor of King David and, consequently, of Jesus Christ. Tamar's story transcends her own struggle for justice and recognition, highlighting how her decisive actions secured the continuation of Judah's lineage. Additionally, her determination and cunning serve as a powerful testament to perseverance in the face of adversity and the relentless pursuit of justice, even within a context of deep social and cultural inequalities. Tamar's journey not only illustrates the individual importance of her choices, but also her significant contribution to fulfilling divine promises in Israel's history. Her story emphasizes how justice can prevail through courage and integrity, influencing future generations and reaffirming the essential role that determined individuals can play in the grand plan of redemption. Judah's journey in Tamar's narrative reveals a profound personal and spiritual transformation. Initially marked by flaws and hesitations, Judah confronts his own limitations by recognizing the justice in Tamar's actions. This acknowledgement not only redeems his image, but also shapes him into a more upright and just leader within his family, and, by extension, the Israelite community. Reconciliation with Tamar and acceptance of his responsibility ensure the continuity of divine promises, culminating in the lineage that would lead to the birth of the Messiah. The story of Judah and Tamar exemplifies resilience, the pursuit of justice, and the capacity for redemption, highlighting how individuals can positively influence the future through courageous and ethical decisions. Furthermore, Tamar's narrative transcends her own quest for justice, revealing God's providential hand in preserving Judah's lineage. In a society strongly centered on family and inheritance, Tamar's actions ensure that Judah's line remains intact and promising. Perez, Tamar's son, emerges as a crucial figure in Israel's genealogy, being a direct ancestor of King David and eventually of Jesus Christ. This connection highlights how God uses seemingly fragile or marginalized individuals to fulfill his greater purposes. Tamar's determination to secure her place in Judah's family reflects how God often operates through unexpected circumstances and people, demonstrating that faith and courage can transform challenges into lasting blessings. Judah's transformation, driven by his interaction with Tamar, serves as a mirror for the collective journey of Israel. Just as Judah learns and grows from his failures, the people of Israel also experience periods of deviation and return to divine grace. This cycle of failure and redemption reinforces the message that, even in the face of adversity and mistakes, there is always an opportunity to restart and align with God's will. The story of Judah and Tamar not only narrates historical events, but also offers timeless lessons on justice, responsibility, and the capacity for personal and collective transformation. The birth of Perez and Zerah marked a decisive moment in the history of Tamar and Judah, symbolizing not only Tamar's personal resilience, but also the continuation of the family lineage essential for Israel's future. When Zerah reached out his hand, Perez was the first to emerge, an event that reflected life's unexpected twists and divine intervention. By naming their son Perez, meaning breach or rupture, Tamar and Judah acknowledged the profound significance of this birth, indicating a point of transformation that would influence Israel's history. Perez became a central figure in the genealogy, being a direct ancestor of the renowned King David, and, ultimately, of Jesus Christ, the promised Messiah. This link demonstrated that Tamar's actions went beyond her own survival, significantly impacting the fulfillment of divine promises. Tamar's narrative invites reflection on the true nature of justice and transformation within the biblical context. Her determination to secure her rights and preserve the family lineage challenged the social norms and cultural expectations of the time. Tamar exemplifies how the relentless pursuit of justice can lead to profound changes, even when faced with seemingly insurmountable adversities. Her courage to confront Judah and demand recognition of her rights served as a catalyst for Judah's redemption and personal transformation, leading him to understand and rectify his own shortcomings. This dynamic between Tamar and Judah illustrates how individuals can positively influence their own trajectories and, by extension, the destiny of their communities. Judah's metamorphosis, driven by his interaction with Tamar, reflects a journey of self-awareness and moral growth. Initially reluctant to fulfill his responsibilities, Judah is forced to confront his deficiencies by recognizing the justice in Tamar's actions. This acceptance not only redeems his image, but also transforms him into a more upright and justice-committed leader. Reconciliation with Tamar and acceptance of his responsibility ensure the continuity of divine promises, culminating in the lineage that would lead to the birth of the Messiah. The story of Judah and Tamar is a powerful reminder that, even in the face of flaws and hesitations, the ability to recognize mistakes and seek justice can lead to significant and lasting transformations. The conclusion of Tamar's story with the birth of her children highlights how God intertwines human actions, whether virtuous or flawed, to achieve his goals. Tamar's journey, from widowhood to motherhood and from vulnerability to victory, illustrates the biblical theme of reversal, where God uplifts the humble and uses those who, at first glance, seem insignificant to accomplish great deeds. Although her story is rooted in the cultural and familial context of ancient Israel, it resonates with universal themes of justice, redemption, and the perseverance of the human spirit in the face of adversity. Tamar's inclusion in the genealogy of Jesus Christ underscores the breadth of the divine plan. As a Canaanite woman, Tamar became part of the sacred lineage, demonstrating that God's promises transcend ethnic, gender, and social status barriers. This integration foreshadows the New Testament message, where in Christ all divisions are overcome, and all people are called to participate in God's redemptive work. Tamar's courage and determination position her as a precursor among the many biblical women who played essential roles in the development of God's salvation plan. The narrative of Tamar and Judah culminates in a story marked by hope and divine grace. It shows that even in the most challenging and unjust circumstances, God is at work, bringing justice and fulfilling his purposes in ways that often exceed human expectations. Tamar's legacy endures not only through her descendants, but also within the broader biblical narrative, serving as a powerful testimony of how faith, courage, and the relentless pursuit of justice can shape history. Her story reaffirms the enduring truth that, regardless of the darkness of circumstances, those who remain faithful and act with integrity will find their place in God's redemptive plan, positively influencing future generations and perpetuating the divine work through the ages. If you were moved by Tamar's inspiring story of determination and redemption, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications so you don't miss any new content. And of course, leave your comment below sharing what touched you the most in this journey of faith and justice. Until next time. The story of Rachel, found in the book of Genesis, is rich with love, challenges, and faith. Rachel, the youngest daughter of Laban, stood out in Padimot Aram due to her stunning beauty, immediately capturing Jacob's heart. Their meeting took place at a well, a symbolic location in the scriptures that often precedes significant unions. Jacob, fleeing from his brother Esau, was exhausted and hopeful for a new beginning in that foreign land. While resting near the well, Jacob watched Rachel approach with her father's flock. Demonstrating strength and admiration, Jacob removed the stone that blocked the well, allowing Rachel's sheep to drink. This gesture not only showcased his physical strength, but also symbolized the deep affection that was instantly emerging between them. Jacob's determination to win Rachel reflected a genuine love and a willingness to sacrifice for her. The journey for Jacob to marry Rachel was not without obstacles. According to the customs of the time, Laban, Rachel's father, deceived Jacob on the wedding night by substituting her with her older sister, Leah. It was only the next morning that Jacob realized the swap and confronted Laban, who justified the action based on local traditions that prioritized the older daughter in marriage. Deeply in love with Rachel, Jacob agreed to work another 7 years to finally marry her, demonstrating extraordinary dedication. Despite the intense love between Jacob and Rachel, their relationship faced significant challenges. Rachel, though much loved, struggled with infertility, while Leah conceived multiple children. This dynamic created a rivalry that brought sadness and tension to the family. Each birth of Leah's children fueled her hope of securing Jacob's full affection, while Rachel endured the anguish of not being able to give birth, reflecting the social and personal pressures of the time on female fertility. Jacob's perseverance and unwavering love for Rachel laid the foundation for a story of devotion and sacrifice, illustrating the complexities of human relationships and divine intervention in the lives of biblical protagonists. Although the love between Jacob and Rachel was deep, their union faced a painful challenge: Rachel's infertility. In a society where having children was a crucial symbol of blessing and purpose, Rachel's inability to conceive caused her great suffering and intensified the rivalry with her sister Leah, who had already borne several children to Jacob. In a moment of desperation, Rachel implored Jacob, "Give me children, or I will die." This plea reflects the depth of her anguish and the social pressure on her to fulfill her role as a mother. Recognizing the seriousness of her request, Jacob reminded her that it was God who determined the ability to conceive, emphasizing the need to trust in divine will despite human limitations. Determined to fulfill her desire for motherhood, Rachel adopted a common practice of the time: substitution. She offered her maid Bilhah to Jacob, hoping that any child born from Bilhah would be recognized as hers. This act resulted in the birth of Dan and Naphtali, providing Rachel temporary relief and a sense of accomplishment, albeit in an unconventional manner. Not wanting to be left behind, Leah also offered her maid Zilpah to Jacob, leading to the birth of Gad and Asher. This competitive dynamic between Rachel and Leah extended to their maids, demonstrating how far both were willing to go to secure Jacob's legacy and strengthen their positions within the family. Rachel's relentless pursuit of children led her to try another remedy: mandrakes, plants considered to promote fertility in ancient cultures. When Reuben, Leah's eldest son, found mandrakes in the field, Rachel requested them in the hope that they might finally grant her the blessing of a child. In return, she offered Leah a night with Jacob, highlighting the intensity of her desire. Although the mandrakes did not produce immediate results, Rachel maintained her faith. Her fervent prayers were answered, and God blessed her with the birth of Joseph, whose name meant "He will add." This son marked a rebirth of hope for Rachel, solidifying her place in the family and foreshadowing Joseph's crucial role in the lineage of Israel. Rachel's life, filled with love and challenges, met a tragic end during the birth of her second child, Benjamin. Complications during childbirth resulted in her premature death, leaving Jacob deeply devastated. In a sign of his immense affection and respect, Jacob erected a monument over her burial place near Bethlehem. This memorial served not only as a personal tribute, but also as a lasting symbol of the love Rachel inspired within the family. Rachel's death has generated various theological interpretations over the centuries. Some scholars suggest that her death was the consequence of an inadvertent curse imposed by Jacob. When the family was fleeing Laban's household, Rachel stole her father's household idols, an act unknown to Jacob. As they were pursued by Laban, Jacob declared, "Whoever has their gods will not live," unaware that it was Rachel who had taken the idols. This accidental curse is seen by some as the reason for Rachel's premature death, highlighting how unintended actions can have lasting consequences. Another perspective relates to Rachel's own plea: "Give me children, or I will die." This statement can be interpreted as a prophetic expression, foreshadowing the necessary sacrifice to give birth to Benjamin. Such an interpretation emphasizes the power of words and how human desires expressed in moments of intense emotion can tragically influence future events. Beyond theological interpretations, Rachel's death reinforces themes of faith, patience, and divine providence. Her long wait for motherhood, accompanied by rivalry with Leah, and her final death reflect the complexities of human emotions and the tests of faith faced by individuals. Rachel demonstrated persistent hope, whether through fervent prayers, cultural practices, or traditional remedies, serving as an example of resilience and trust in a greater plan, even in the face of circumstances difficult to understand. After her death, Rachel's impact continued to manifest through her descendants, especially through her sons, Joseph and Benjamin. Joseph, her most beloved son, played a crucial role in the history of Israel. Sold into slavery by his brothers, he rose to a prominent position in Egypt by interpreting Pharaoh's dreams, which allowed him to save his family and many others during a severe famine. Joseph's wisdom and ability not only transformed his own journey, but also ensured the survival of the tribes of Israel in times of crisis. Benjamin, Rachel's second son, became the patriarch of the tribe that bears his name. The tribe of Benjamin played a significant role in the formation of Israel, producing notable leaders and valiant warriors, including Saul, the first king of Israel. Through Benjamin, Rachel's legacy was perpetuated, influencing the leadership and structure of the Israelite tribes. Furthermore, Rachel's dedication as a mother and wife served as an example for future generations. Her struggle with infertility, rivalry with Leah, and perseverance in seeking solutions reflect the resilience and faith that characterized her life. These qualities inspired her descendants to maintain spiritual integrity and trust in divine providence, even in the face of significant personal challenges. Rachel's legacy, therefore, is not limited to her own existence, but expands through her children and their contributions to the history of Israel. Rachel's influence is felt not only on a personal level, but also in the formation and strengthening of the tribes that constituted the people of Israel. ensuring that her memory and teachings endure through generations. Throughout the centuries, Rachel remained a revered figure in Israelite tradition. Her burial place, situated near Bethlehem, became a sacred pilgrimage site, symbolizing her role as a matriarch of Israel. The monument Jacob erected over her grave served not only as a personal tribute, but also as an eternal symbol of the love and losses that shaped the history of the people of Israel. Rachel's narrative resonates beyond her own life, reflecting the cultural and spiritual values of the time while addressing universal themes such as love, resilience, and the search for meaning. Her relationship with Jacob exemplifies a profound journey of commitment and sacrifice, laying the foundations for the tribes of Israel. Rachel's struggles, especially her intense desire for children, highlight human vulnerability and the social pressures faced by ancient women to ensure the continuity of the family lineage. Additionally, Rachel is seen as an example of faith and perseverance. Her determination to overcome infertility and her fervent prayers to God inspired generations to maintain hope and trust in divine providence, even in the face of great challenges. Rachel's story continues to be a powerful testament to how love and dedication can transcend difficulties, leaving a lasting mark on the spirituality and identity of the people of Israel. Rachel's figure continues to exert significant influence both in sacred scriptures and contemporary culture. In Jewish and Christian traditions, Rachel is often remembered as an example of faith, perseverance, and maternal love. Her story is taught in synagogues and churches, serving as a model for women facing similar challenges related to motherhood and social pressures. In the scriptures, Rachel symbolizes the human struggle against adversity and trust in divine providence. Her determination to seek motherhood, even in the face of infertility and family rivalry, resonates with many who face personal difficulties. Rachel's fervent prayers are frequently cited in devotional practices, encouraging the faithful to maintain hope and faith during times of trial. Beyond the religious context, Rachel has inspired countless works of art, literature, and music over the centuries. Paintings depicting her moments of joy and suffering find their place in museums and galleries, while poets and writers draw universal themes of love, loss, and resilience from her story. In music, contemporary songs and psalms based on her life capture the depth of her emotions and the universality of her experience. Rachel's influence also extends to modern debates about gender roles and social expectations. Her story invites reflections on the valuation of fertility, family dynamics, and the search for identity amidst external pressures. Scholars use her narrative to explore issues of power, vulnerability, and the quest for spiritual meaning. In summary, Rachel transcends her own biblical story, becoming a lasting symbol of hope and faith. Her life continues to inspire and influence, demonstrating how a historical figure can shape both religious practices and cultural expressions over time. If you enjoyed this inspiring story about Rachel's life, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications so you won't miss any new content. And of course, leave your comment below about what touched you most in this journey of faith and perseverance. Until next time, Abraham, a patriarch deeply devoted to God, was concerned about the future of his son, Isaac, and wanted to ensure that he married a woman who shared the same faith in the one true God. This concern was not only born out of paternal love, but also the need to maintain the divine covenant with his descendants. Isaac, born to Abraham and Sarah in their old age after years of waiting, represented God's promise of a blessed lineage. Abraham knew that the continuity of this covenant depended on Isaac marrying a woman who not only was from his own family, but also upheld the faith and values they both cherished. He wanted to avoid Isaac uniting with a Canaanite woman whose religious and cultural practices differed from Abraham's, which could compromise the faith and identity of God's chosen people. For this essential mission, Abraham entrusted his most faithful servant, who had accompanied him for many years, with the responsibility of finding the ideal wife for Isaac. In Genesis 24:4, the servant made a solemn oath, placing his hand under Abraham's thigh, a gesture symbolizing commitment and loyalty in the culture of the time. Abraham clearly instructed that the search should be within his own family, returning to the land of Nahor to find a suitable woman for his son. The servant set out with a caravan of 10 camels, bringing gifts as signs of respect and serious intention. During his journey to Nahor, he prayed to God for guidance, asking for a specific sign, that the young woman who offered water for him and his camels would be the one chosen for Isaac. His faith was rewarded when Rebekah, described as a generous young woman of excellent character, appeared at the well and responded to the request for water in an exemplary manner. After verifying her lineage and confirming that Rebekah was a relative of Abraham, the servant offered gifts and brought Rebekah back to Hebron. Thus, the mission not only secured a suitable marriage for Isaac, but also reinforced Abraham's covenant with God, ensuring a blessed future for his descendants. Abraham was determined to ensure that Isaac, his son, married within his own family, aligning the marriage with the promises of the divine covenant. After finding Rebekah, Abraham's servant prostrated himself in worship, acknowledging God's faithfulness in guiding Rebekah to him. In Genesis 24, 26, 27, the servant praised God for his unwavering love and loyalty to Abraham, marveling at the swift and precise response to his prayers. Rebekah, excited and perhaps surprised, ran to tell her family about the events. Laban, Rebekah's brother, noticing the gifts and hearing the story, warmly welcomed the servant and his entourage. As recounted in Genesis 24, 31, 33, Laban demonstrated traditional hospitality, offering shelter for the camels and providing meals. However, the servant, with a sense of urgency, insisted on speaking before eating, wishing to explain his mission and seek the family's consent for Rebekah's marriage to Isaac. His dedication reflected the seriousness of the task, determined to complete his mission before relaxing. The servant narrated the entire story, from Abraham's instructions to the prayer and the requested sign. He shared how Rebekah's generous actions confirmed that she was the one chosen by God for Isaac. The family, upon hearing, recognized the divine hand in the events and accepted that God had orchestrated everything perfectly. The next morning, when the servant asked for permission to leave with Rebekah, the family initially requested more days for farewells. However, pressed by urgency, they turned to Rebekah for her decision. Demonstrating faith and courage, Rebekah promptly agreed to leave her home and family to follow God's plan. Her willingness to embark on this unknown journey reflected a deep trust in the divine purpose. The family blessed her, praying that she would become the mother of thousands and that her descendants would prevail over their enemies, as recorded in Genesis 24, 60. Rebekah's journey to meet Isaac was not only a physical crossing, but also a spiritual transition, marking the beginning of a sacred union blessed by God. After the servant recounted to Isaac how God had guided him to Rebekah and her faithful response, Isaac invited Rebekah into his mother Sarah's tent. This gesture symbolized her acceptance into the family and the beginning of her role as matriarch. As described in Genesis 24, 67, the love between Isaac and Rebekah brought comfort and joy to Isaac's heart after the loss of his mother, transforming their marriage into a deep and personal connection. Over time, Rebekah became pregnant with twins, Jacob and Esau, after Isaac prayed for her, as she had previously been barren. During the pregnancy, Rebekah felt the boys struggling within her and sought God's counsel. The Lord revealed that 2 nations were within her and that the elder would serve the younger, foreshadowing the future relationship between Jacob and Esau, who would represent contrasting destinies for their respective nations. As the boys grew, Isaac showed preference for Esau, a skilled hunter, while Rebekah favored Jacob, a more quiet and homebound man. These differences created family tensions. When Isaac grew old and began to lose his sight, he planned to bless Esau with the birthright. Rebekah, remembering the divine prophecy, instructed Jacob to disguise himself as Esau to receive the blessing. Jacob, though hesitant, followed his mother's directions, covering his hands and neck with goat skins and preparing a meal similar to Esau's. The disguise and familiar aroma deceived Isaac, who blessed Jacob, ensuring prosperity and the continuity of God's promises. When Esau discovered the deception, he was devastated and vowed to kill Jacob, forcing Rebekah to intervene again. She persuaded Isaac to allow Jacob to flee to Haran, ensuring his safety and the continuity of the divine covenant. Rebekah's actions, though controversial, demonstrated her firm commitment to God's plan for her family, ensuring the preservation of divine promises for future generations of Israel. Rebekah showed unwavering determination by risking family harmony and facing personal pain to secure the future of the divine covenant, thus shaping the course of Israel's history. Under her guidance, Jacob would become the father of the 12 tribes, fulfilling the promises made to Abraham and extending God's covenant to future generations. Rebekah's trajectory is rich in faith, courage, and complexity, evidencing significant decisions that had lasting repercussions, both positive and negative. She exemplifies the challenges of balancing personal convictions with family loyalty and the cost of following divine promises. Her journey, from the well to becoming the matriarch of Israel, illustrates how God works through individual lives, using both strengths and weaknesses to fulfill His purposes. Rebekah's story reminds us that divine plans often unfold in unexpected ways, requiring difficult decisions and resilient faith. Her life invites us to reflect on our own response to God's guidance, especially when it leads us down challenging paths. After ensuring that Jacob received Isaac's blessing, Rebekah played a crucial role in the complex dynamics between Jacob and Esau. When Isaac, already old and blind, attempted to bless Esau, Rebekah, recalling God's prophecy, instructed Jacob to deceive his father to receive the blessing meant for the firstborn. This strategic act led Jacob to flee to Haran, where he found refuge with his uncle Laban. During his journey, Jacob had a significant spiritual encounter at Bethel, where God reaffirmed His promises, confirming that Jacob would be the bearer of the divine covenant. Despite the years spent with Laban, marrying Leah and Rachel, and having 12 children, Rebekah's influence remained vital, ensuring the continuity of God's promises for the nation of Israel. Rebekah showed unwavering determination by risking family harmony and facing personal pain to secure the future of the divine covenant, thus shaping the trajectory of Israel. Although the biblical narrative does not explicitly detail her life after Jacob's departure, her initial guidance had a lasting impact on Jacob's character and decisions. Rebekah's influence was evident in how Jacob dealt with the complexities of his relationships with Laban, his wives, and eventually in his reconciliation with Esau. Rebekah's decision to send Jacob to Haran was not only a response to the immediate danger posed by Esau, but also an effort to align Jacob's future with God's plan. In Haran, Jacob experienced personal growth and faced various trials, reflecting the recurring theme in the patriarchal stories of Genesis, where exile and separation precede the fulfillment of the divine destiny. During his time with Laban, Jacob went through deceptions, married Leah and Rachel, and had 12 sons, who would become the patriarchs of the tribes of Israel. Rebekah's guidance, though indirect after her departure, was crucial in keeping Jacob faithful to God's covenant. When Jacob returned to Canaan, he faced Esau again. Before this reunion, Jacob had a significant spiritual encounter at Bethel, where God reaffirmed his promises, confirming that Jacob would be the bearer of the divine covenant. This encounter symbolized Jacob's spiritual transformation and the continuity of the promises made to Abraham. The reunion with Esau was peaceful, demonstrating redemption and healing of family tensions. Rebekah's influence, even if physically absent, ensured that Jacob could prosper and continue the blessed lineage, consolidating his legacy in the formation of the 12 tribes of Israel. Rebekah, with her faith and strategic decisions, left a lasting legacy that shaped Israel's history, illustrating how individual faithfulness can impact future generations and ensure the fulfillment of divine purposes. Rebekah's life prompts deep reflections on the essence of faith, obedience, and the ways people face the challenges of living out God's promises in a world full of ambiguities and moral dilemmas. Like many biblical figures, Rebekah is a multifaceted character, simultaneously a mother driven by love and a woman with deep convictions about the divine plan. Her decisions, especially the deception to secure Jacob's blessing, raise questions about the tension between human agency and divine providence. How do we reconcile Rebekah's actions with God's plan? Was it a necessary intervention to fulfill the divine promise to Jacob? Or did it reflect human impatience and manipulation? These inquiries highlight the richness of Rebekah's story, encouraging readers to consider how God's love and purposes can be realized through imperfect people. Her journey parallels that of other matriarchs and patriarchs in Genesis, such as Sarah, who also took bold steps to ensure the fulfillment of God's promises, demonstrating their determination to navigate a world where divine promises often seem distant or unattainable. However, Rebekah's story also serves as a cautionary tale about the complexities of resolving conflicts on one's own and the potential consequences of deceit and favoritism within a family. Her legacy, perpetuated by Jacob and his descendants, underscores the enduring nature of God's covenant. Despite family struggles, betrayals, and separations, God's promise to Abraham to make his descendants into a great nation continued to be fulfilled. Ultimately, Rebekah's story reveals a God who works through imperfect human beings to accomplish his purposes. Her life invites reflection on how our own choices, influenced by faith, love, and sometimes fear, can shape not only our destiny, but also that of those around us. Rebekah's willingness to trust in God's promise, even through morally challenging means, demonstrates the enduring power of faith and determination in the face of uncertainty. If you were inspired by Rebekah's story of faith and determination, don't forget to like this content, subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications to follow more enriching narratives. Leave your comment below, sharing what touched you the most in this journey of faith and perseverance. See you next time.
In a time of transformation, where Israel transitioned from tribal leaders to a unified monarchy, Merab, the eldest daughter of King Saul, was born. Chosen to live at the heart of power, she grew up observing the delicate balance between politics, tradition, and faith that sustained the kingdom. From an early age, Merab understood the responsibilities her position demanded. In the palace, where corridors whispered secrets and decisions could alter the nation's destiny, she learned to navigate between expectations and duties. Her close relationship with her younger sister Michal was a refuge amidst the growing tensions that weighed on King Saul. Saul's reign began with military glories, but soon shadows of emotional instability clouded his leadership. The king's insecurities, fueled by the pressures of the crown, created an environment of uncertainty that deeply affected his Merab, though protected from some of the initial turbulence, felt the impact of the changes that were on. The arrival of David at the palace brought a new dynamic. The young shepherd, whose unwavering faith and exceptional skills quickly won over the court, became a central figure. His serene presence offered temporary relief to Saul's anxieties, while his courage and humility inspired everyone around him, including Merab. As Israel solidified under royal leadership, Merab saw her own life intertwine with the events shaping the prophecies, battles, and political alliances wove the kingdom's history, with her playing a crucial role behind the scenes of this epic scenario. Merab's fate, like that of Israel, was intrinsically linked to the divine and human forces guiding her. In a period of great transformation, Israel abandoned the leadership of judges to embrace monarchy, with Saul being anointed as the first king under the guidance of the prophet Samuel and divine. In this context, Merab, Saul's firstborn, was born and raised at the political heart of the kingdom, where tradition and faith delicately intertwined. From a young age, Merab understood the immense responsibilities her position demanded. Growing up in the palace, she observed the intrigues and decisions that shaped Israel's destiny. Her close relationship with her younger sister, Michal, was a refuge from the tensions weighing on King Saul, whose reign, initially victorious, began to show signs of emotional instability. The arrival of David, a humble shepherd, brought new hope to the court. His musical skill and unwavering faith won Saul's heart and those around him, including Merab. The turning point came when David faced the Philistine giant, Goliath. Watching from a distance, Merab felt a mix of admiration and with just a sling and his trust in God, David brought down Goliath, securing a victory that would echo through Israel's. This triumph elevated David to national hero status, leading Saul to promise Merab's hand in marriage. For her, this promise represented not only a personal union, but also a crucial political. However, as David gained more prominence, Saul's jealousy grew, fueled by songs exalting his. The king's paranoia turned admiration into a threat, causing him to revoke his promise and offer Merab to Adriel, a Meholathite noble. The marriage to Adriel, though respected at court, left Merab with a divided heart. She harbored a silent love for David, whose absence was felt in every victory and story. Despite Adriel's kindness, Merab faced the pain of a shattered dream, living with the constant reminder of the future she could have shared with the young shepherd who had become her hero and inspiration. As David continued his rise, his battlefield conquests and ability to lead Israel's armies cemented his status as a national hero, beloved by the. However, this growing recognition fueled Saul's envy. The once admiring gaze turned to distrust, and the king, who had previously found serenity in David's melodies, now saw him as a direct adversary, a threat to his reign and. Saul's envy and paranoia evolved into acts of violence. On several occasions, the king hurled spears at David in fits of rage, attempting to end his. Fortunately, David narrowly escaped these assaults, but the tension between him and Saul reached critical levels. For Merab, witnessing her father's obsession with David was painful and she deeply loved Saul, but understood that his actions were driven by fear and insecurity. The strong and respected man she had known was disintegrating, leaving Merab powerless in the face of his deterioration. With Saul's increasingly erratic behavior, the palace became an environment of fear and uncertainty. Merab found herself torn between loyalty to her father and unresolved feelings for David. Saul's attempts to eliminate David created a tense and dangerous atmosphere at court, turning Merab's previously tranquil life into a battlefield of political intrigue and emotional conflict. Eventually, David was forced to flee the court to escape Saul's wrath. His departure left the palace even more empty, deepening Merab's sense of isolation. Without David, the court lost the vitality he brought, and Saul's menacing presence made each day more difficult. Merab's marriage to Adriel, though respectable, could not fill the void left by the young. The final blow came with the news of Saul's death in battle against the Philistine. Along with him, Merab lost her brothers, including the beloved Jonathan, marking the end of an era for Israel and plunging her into deep. With the death of her father and brothers, Merab found herself stripped of the last family ties. With David's ascension to the throne, Merab faced a mix of recognition and sadness. While she understood David's right as king, his coronation brought up the wounds of the past. The life she had dreamed of alongside David was now unattainable, and David's new leadership served as a painful reminder of the future that had been taken. David's reign brought numerous challenges, but none affected Merab as personally as the Gibeonites' demand for justice. During Saul's zealous rule, the Gibeonites had been wronged and now sought to redeem Saul's mistakes and prevent further disasters in Israel. David agreed to hand over 7 of Saul's descendants to be executed by the Gibeonites. Among those selected were Merab's 2 sons. For Merab, this was the ultimate betrayal. David, the man she loved and who had been promised to her, was now responsible for her sons' deaths. The pain of this loss was unfathomable. The man who once represented hope had become the source of her deepest sorrow. The execution of her sons marked the darkest period of her existence, leaving permanent scars on her. After the brutal loss of her sons, Merab's grief seemed endless. This devastating tragedy compounded the mourning she already faced for her father, and Merab had to confront the harsh realities of a world governed by political demands and family betrayal. Her sons were sacrificed to atone for Saul's sins, not for any fault of their own, but due to their father's actions. This injustice haunted her mind daily, casting a long shadow over her life. Even in the face of such loss, Merab refused to succumb to bitterness. Instead, she found solace in her faith and deep connection to Israel's life. Her resilience allowed her to find meaning in the darkest moments, sustaining herself with belief in divine justice. This inner strength was crucial for navigating a life marked by pain and instability. Merab's relationship with David remained complex after her son's death. She understood that David acted out of duty and not malice, but reconciling her personal pain with Israel's greater needs was a constant challenge. In her solitude, Merab turned even more to her faith, finding guidance and purpose in the religious traditions instilled in her from a young age. Despite the losses, Merab remained dedicated to Israel's well-being. Recognizing her responsibilities as a member of the royal family, she worked to preserve Saul's legacy. Even as David's reign consolidated, her dedication became a symbol of the nation's collective struggles, reflecting her understanding that her suffering was part of a larger story, destined to shape Israel's fate. David's achievements continued to strengthen his position, making him a leader beloved throughout Israel. His military victories and strategic skills elevated him as a national hero, but this further fueled Saul's jealousy. The king's once admiring gaze turned to suspicion and fear. The man who had previously found tranquility in David's music now saw him as an imminent threat to his throne and legacy. Saul's envy quickly evolved into acts of violence. On several occasions, the king tried to eliminate David, hurling spears at him in outbursts of anger. David, with his cunning and dexterity, managed to escape these attempts, but the tension reached a critical point. For Merab, witnessing her father's obsession was painful and confusing. She loved Saul, but saw his actions driven by fear and insecurity, watching him crumble before his own fear. As Saul became more erratic, the palace transformed into an environment of constant fear and uncertainty. Merab found herself torn between loyalty to her father and unresolved feelings for David. David's growing popularity, coupled with Saul's attempts to eliminate him, created a tense and dangerous atmosphere, turning Merab's life into a battlefield of political intrigue and emotional conflict. Finally, David was forced to flee the court to escape Saul's wrath. His departure left the palace even more desolate, deepening Merab's isolation. Without David's presence, the court lost the vitality he brought, and Saul's shadow made each day more. Merab's marriage to Adriel, though respectable, could not fill the void left by the young. Saul's death in battle against the Philistines was the final blow. Along with him, Merab lost her brothers, including Jonathan, her beloved. This event marked the end of an era for Israel and plunged Merab into deep mourning. With David's ascension to the throne, Merab faced a mix of recognition and sadness, knowing that the man she loved now ruled the nation, while she remained distant from a future that would never be hers. Merab's experiences transformed her into a woman of immense wisdom and silent strength. Despite numerous losses, she never allowed pain to consume. Instead, she used her suffering to develop a deep understanding and genuine empathy. Merab became a source of advice for those facing losses, sharing insights on how to endure life's adversity. Her ability to draw strength from adversity became her hallmark, earning her respect throughout Israel. Merab's influence transcended the palace walls. Among the common people, she was seen as a symbol of her story, passed down through generations, told not only of tragedies, but also of survival in the face of hardship. In a land often ravaged by wars and losses, Merab's resilience served as inspiration for many, showing how to maintain a sense of purpose and faith, even in the darkest moments. As the years passed, Merab accepted the reality of David's reign. Though their paths had diverged, she recognized that David had become the leader, Israel. Under his leadership, the kingdom found stability and prosperity, and its borders expanded. Though she still mourned the life she could have had with David, Merab found peace in the conviction that David's leadership was part of the divine plan, even if it came at a high personal cost. In the final years of her life, Merab began to reflect on her past in a transformative way. The tragedies that once seemed unbearable now held deeper. She saw her struggles as opportunities for growth, learning valuable lessons about love, loyalty, and though the pain of losing her sons never completely disappeared, Merab found solace in the belief that they were part of a greater plan, trusting in the divine wisdom guiding her destiny. Merab's legacy continued to flourish even after her passing. Her story became a cornerstone in Israel's collective memory, an example of resilience. Merab was remembered as a woman of great strength and integrity, whose ability to transform suffering into a source of inspiration inspired future generations to persevere in the face of difficulty. If you were moved by the inspiring story of Merab and her incredible journey of faith and resilience, don't forget to like this content, subscribe to and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates. Share in the comments what touched your heart the most in this journey of overcoming and hope. Your opinion is very important to us. Until next